The event has started. It's official. Hello, my name is Bill Hunt and WM Hunt. And today I'm going to have a conversation with Nancy Burson, who created the t-shirt that I have on. DNA has no color. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Nancy Burson. Say hello.
Thank you. Hello. Hi, everyone.
Very good. She and I are friends of a very long time. It's a very, very good friendship too. At one point, I was a dealer and had the pleasure of representing Nancy. She had a body of work about people with devastating facial anomalies, Polaroid color pictures that were dazzling. They were scary as anything for people. People would walk in the gallery and just look like they dropped their teeth. Nonetheless, I was pleased to show it. Miss Nancy, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you. It's great to be here. And I have to say, Bill, that you spoke so profoundly about those images. It was so touching every time I heard you. And also, I want to say that you're such a remarkable teacher and educator. And I think you always give the best advice to students, which is, do you remember?
I've got a lot of advice. Which one?
Don't be assholes.
Oh, yeah, that one. That's, yes, don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
Be smart. I'm amazed at how people are, anyway. So the name of this conversation is Beyond the Tip of Your Nose. Looking beyond the tip of your nose, because from my point of view, I have the sense that people haven't kept up with Nancy. People are familiar with Nancy's work from 30 years ago, which really made her career. She was very well known as a young artist for her morphing images, where she would take information from 3 or more different images and make a hybrid of that. And she also created a morphing that would age people. But Nancy's pursuit, her practice is very, very diligent, and that is what we're going to talk about today. Nancy's been writing a long piece called Quantum Entanglement, and I'm going to read something from it because that will bring us up to speed. Okay?
Okay.
Good. And then the structure of this is going to be, I love Nancy's loft downtown. So we're going to structure the talk as if we were on a studio visit to her place. I'm reading from Nancy's writing. In the mid-1980s, I was known as the pioneer of facial morphing, ironically challenging the notion of photographic truth at the birth of digital manipulation. However, from the mid-1990s, my own ill health propelled me to seek alternative approaches to Western medicine. I had unknowingly launched myself on a journey no one who's sick wants to endure. But, however, when I began to meditate and study metaphysics, I found I was able to photograph the energy around myself and others, and with my newfound schools, recovering health and perception of density suddenly changed. I was immediately drawn to the documentation of my own experience. So I'm going to skip the next paragraph, which has to do a little with spirituality, but then she's revised something and it says, through the decades. So basically this practice has been to protect herself, to find out what was going on with herself and how that manifests in photographs. Through the decades, those luminous flashes of light expanded and eventually began to communicate as well. But I don't see dead people or angels or aliens. I see physics. I see what appears around me as grids of golden threads. I see the cosmic web in the darkness and the light of day. I see the emergent patterns sitting quietly on the land as it appears to cover the earth in a curved web-like structure. I see luminous flashes of light and tiny interlocking spirals of silver light. I see brilliant blue tentacles of electromagnetism with a glowing white nuclei that undulate through the air like jellyfish. I've been photographing what I see for 25 years now. I view it as my collaboration with whatever word you plug in that best represents your guidance, consciousness, God, universe, or truth. I think what she's saying in some respects here is that most of us see a great deal and don't account for it. We just sort of accept it as the things that are around the edges. But Nancy really wants to develop understanding, consciousness of what's going on in those places. So let's do a little tour, Nancy, and this will have a little chronology to it, what you've been doing the last several years. I think that people will be surprised and delighted by how much color this involves and its cosmic zest. How's that?
That's good. Thank you.
Okay, good.
So I want to start by saying that I come from kind of a science background. My mother was a lab technician. So I grew up, as I've said before, doing fake experiments with real blood. And so serology labs for me when I was a child were, I mean, they were just, that was the best part of my childhood, I felt. And then I used to watch the sunlight come through the window, and I would look at the particles that were coming through, and I thought, what is that? What is all that? There's so much stuff coming through in the sunlight. So that's kind of my background, and I think where this first started. And then also, in regards to what you said about what I see, there's a whole history behind creative people being able to access some sort of guidance for themselves. And it goes really far back to Plato and Aristotle and the Greeks and the Romans, who felt not that they were geniuses, but that they had a genius with them. And so those genii became their collaborators in whatever it is that they were creating. And then after Christianity, everything came to be more within oneself. And so, but now we have people like Elizabeth Gilbert, who has come out and said that she basically accesses her writing by addressing the corner of the room and saying, hey, I'm here to write, can you help me? And even people like Taylor Swift, who apparently sees a little cloud in front of her and sucks it in to receive her song. And then there's you, Bill, who—
Oh my God, no.
Who have a parrot sitting on your shoulder. Would you like to talk about your parrot?
It is in fact true that I've been in, the parrot first really appeared at a meeting once with the publisher when I was pitching a book, and I knew that I feared that the response I was going to get was rhetorical, that it was what I expected. I had hoped that it wouldn't be that, but I wasn't going to be surprised if that was the response. And as the meeting went along and I could hear him gearing up to give me his bad news, the bird, which is on my right shoulder, is in my ear and telling me, like, just cool it, don't kill him, don't kill him, because I was really ready to leap over the table and wring his neck. I know myself as a writer, the best writing I do is when I go down a rabbit hole and there's this other person down the rabbit hole who's writing, and it's me. It is me. I can quite clearly see that it's me, but it's a much smarter version of me. It's a much more organized, clear thinking version of me. And basically he writes And then he gives me the text and I come up out of the rabbit hole and read it and go like, wow, who did this? This is okay. So I'm with you on this, to my surprise, that I think you're onto something here. Also, I do like the bird thing. I always feel that I have some, whenever I'm getting very bad news, crows show up. And I just think it's the creepiest thing, except I love crows. I think they really are bringing, that they're harbingers of
Right.
powerful things. So
Right.
my attitude toward conversations with Nancy Burson, and I've had many over the years, is to go with it, to check my skepticism at the door. Because if I start chasing her down, going, but, I don't get anywhere in the conversations. But if I am able to keep breathing and listen, it's enlightening and powerful and unique. I hand the talking stick back to you, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going to access my screen.
So it's as if we're at the front door and we're walking in, and there ahead of us in the loft is this.
This PowerPoint. No, this.
She does. She puts a sign up that says works by Nancy Burson.
Here we go. All right. So this is this is why there's a T-shirt. This was my project that I started a couple of years ago, and I think it's such a great way to say that we're all 99.9% alike. It is true that DNA has no color, and scientists color it to make it more visible, but it is in fact invisible. And the Boca Raton Museum also showed the piece, and the T-shirts are available from their gift store. And this is the billboard version, which happened in Hollywood. This was great. This was April.
I love billboards as platforms for photography. I think they're great.
Yeah.
They get a huge audience that's just walks into it, and it's a wonderful way of presenting photographs.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Okay. So on we go. Now, one thing that I'd like to do is demystify some things, and one of those things is what is real and what isn't. What is an artifact of a camera and what isn't. So this is what most people call orbs. They are a part of physics. They are ionized air that physicists create in the laboratory. They are self-organizing, so sometimes they're round, and sometimes they're square, and sometimes they're hexagonal. But what they do seem to respond to is intention. So what I would do, and this is back in 2004, what I would do is I would kind of call them, and for some reason, whatever reason, they would show up. In the early 2000s, and maybe a bit before, when there began to be more people using digital cameras, there were a lot of people shooting orbs, and no one really knew what they were. But there were physicists who studied the phenomenon and recreated them in the laboratory. They're sort of like a form of lightning.
So energy, light, particles.
Energy, light, but physics. I mean, really, physics, not phenomenon, yet physics.
Not extraterrestrial.
Excuse me?
Not extraterrestrial. Oh, good. Okay.
They were extraterrestrial. I mean, we don't really know where these things come from. But what I will say, and this is what's really exciting right now, that physics is this burgeoning science. And even a few weeks ago, there were new articles, a couple of new articles that came out, and I've been following this very closely, that actually says that electrons are conscious. And so we have to wonder in the next couple of years how this is going to affect us in terms of the physics, in terms of our health, in terms of computing. I mean, this is amazing news. When science has finally found what I've been saying for the last over 20 years, that, you know, all those little particles in the air are conscious, it's going to be, I think, in a sense, a different world that we're living in. Excuse me.
I forgot to say something at the beginning. If
Yeah.
people have questions for Nancy, just put them in the chat box and we'll answer them
Right.
Later on.
And this is actually a hexagon here.
Where are you in these pictures?
This is Tucson. This is a friend of mine's backyard in Tucson. I have to give Brian Clamp credit because he showed these in 2006, and I showed them in tiny little light boxes, and no one knew what to say about these. They just didn't. But now I've been presenting them as large images, large photos, and they really are beautiful. This is early digital cameras. And since, well, at least for the last few years, there have been more people shooting video of orbs. And early 2000s, there was very little video that I saw with orbs. And now, now there's a lot less still images and lots of images, lots more images of video. And so this is a friend of mine on Skype one night, and I recorded it because I saw the orbs around him. There's one on the left side and the other two are going to come from the right. Should I play that again, or have you got it?
I see something on the right of the screen, but I don't know that that's what you're talking about. And I've seen this video before, so
Okay, so look first on the left, on his left side, and then there's one up here.
Yeah.
And there's one down here. Somewhere down here. There we go.
When I look with you at video and pictures, very often things that I think are my own vision being compromised by something, you will say, no, that's in there. You're actually seeing it. It's not,
right.
You're not making it up. It's not a fiction.
No, I'm not. Okay.
And I think from myself that vision is incredibly complicated, that we have the science of seeing is really in its infancy, that seeing is informed by so much more than just vision. That's what I think.
And I totally agree with you. I mean, I couldn't agree more, because what I'm really asking people to do is look in a way that's more macroscopic. In other words, there are things that can be seen with the naked eye, and I feel like it's my mission to show people how to see more macronistically.
Okay, let's go on.
Okay, so this is a video that I found on YouTube, and I don't think it's there anymore, but this was registered on a child's camera monitor, children's monitor. And I don't think the video is there anymore, but I think it's a good example. And and this is me. And this is me in this crypt of the Museo Marino Marini in 2019. And the crypt is ancient. It's from the 14th century. It's used now as a museum, but in the bottom, there are still the nuns who were interred there, who inhabited that place in the 14th century. So there's a lot of energy and let's just also say physics in that place. And so it was pretty easy to record.
When you were recording it, did you see this or did you see it when you saw the video?
I did not see this. I saw it on the video, and the woman who was recording it was seeing it.
I describe that as Nancy's spilled viola.
Let's see. Okay. So the reason that I was there was because I was showing this sculpture of Mother Mary, and Mother Mary has been with me for a long time. I started showing her in 2006, and I showed her from 2006 to 2011. She's a tool that I feel that I was given to show people how to see more of what they haven't been able to see before. And so when people sit in a room with Mary, they begin to see the energy around Mary. And I have to explain, because she's the energy anyway of the Divine Mother, and she's celebrated in Christianity and in Islam. And she's also, one of the symbols for the Divine Feminine. It's not just that. It's just that it's that she has become a tool, and so I've spent so much time over the last at least decade doing my best to get a video of her. And finally this year, I was able to capture something which I think is very cool. And it does show people that, in fact, when they're sitting in a room with Mary, there is all this energy that seems to come out, and people can actually see it, and even scientists. And at that point, I have to say, okay, all right, but it's not a miracle. It's just.
Do you think you brought a more enlightened consciousness to it when you made the video? Had you changed that you were able to see it better, or what?
One reason is that Mary is now 6 inches, and she was before about 2.5 inches. So I think the experience for people has more than doubled, and it's easier for people to see the energy around her. And that's, I think, and also I think it's the time period that we're living in. We seem to be, there seems to be a lot more
Acceptance,
accessible energy to see, accessible physics.
So on the tour of Nancy's home, you are sometimes invited to witness the phenomenon of Mary, who's in a darkened room. That's also the bathroom, but nonetheless. That's where you go.
Yep. Okay. I also have a very extensive drawing practice and painting practice. And from 2010 onward, what I've been drawing has been, I want to say, provided by these grids that are actually grids of emergent behavior on the paper, on the canvas. They seem to be everywhere where I want to make my art. They seem to be provided. So so this is a piece of black paper with pastel on it, and it seems to be organized, for me anyway, into faces. And then when you stare at it a little bit longer, you can kind of begin to see that there's eyes. And I can also see, I mean, if I turn the paper upside down, I'd see different faces, but the same eyes. And so this is a good example of how I create my work, because it seems to be, there seems to be a collaboration between whatever energies are out there for me and myself.
So do you in fact see this in your mind's eye, or does this come to you and through, tell people that you do a right hand, you work with both hands at the same time?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Are you basically taking dictation from, are you transcribing the messages you're getting?
Yes, I think that's a really good way to say it, Bill. It's, yeah, I'm just, I'm the collaborator. And so the two-handed drawing is something that I started in 2010. I'd never really used my left hand. I'm very right-handed. But when I started using my left hand, I discovered that it's really very brain balancing. And, if you look it up on the internet, that's actually what they say about it. And so I felt like everything that I was doing was more in balance when I could work both-handed. And so I trained myself to write both-handed, to draw, and to paint both-handed. And so let's just.
There's a question here that you could respond to now or in a bit.
Okay.
If electrons are conscious, what does this mean for our consciousness and therefore perception?
Can I wait to answer that?
Yep, but I thought it was a good question.
It is a good question. Okay. So eventually I thought, well, since I feel it is an all-seeing universe anyway, why not put the eyes in there? And so this is a drawing with the eyes in. And I also, there seems to be this pattern where if I make a drawing or I make a painting, that after I make those things, then I get the photograph that resembles them. So this is a painting, and these are word drawings, word paintings, and these are the repeated writing of words, which I find like pretty relaxing, to just repeat a word or paint, draw or write words, and so the repetition of the word, and so this is peace of mind, and this is a painting of peace of mind, which is just a repetition over and over and over again. So after I did this painting, which was 2019, then during COVID, instead of climbing the walls, what I did was start to photograph the walls. And so this is a photograph of one of the walls. And I think you can see that it looks like there's these tiny little faces. It also looks like there's this emergent behavior pattern. And emergent patterns are what fish swim in, what birds and bugs fly in. The stars seem to be arranged in emergent patterns. And if you're in New York and you take the subway and you look down at the floor, there's also an emergent pattern in the floor. So this is new. These are new images, new photos for me.
When you've shown me this before, it always makes me think of skin too. It looks like membrane.
Yeah.
But it has a translucency with something. It's hard to know where this begins and ends, the depth of it.
Right. And this is another one of the wall photos. And this again is, you can see the emergent pattern. And this is the full photo is on the left, and the detail is on the right, taken from the lower right hand corner. and you can see more of the pattern, the emergent pattern, but also to me, what I'm seeing is these tiny little faces as well. Do you see them as faces, Bill?
I don't.
Okay.
But, you know, there's that artist, Richard Shaver, who actually looks at rocks,
Yeah.
who he slices open rockets and sees these whole populations of figures and their little faces. And I can, if he shows it to me, I can see it too. So I don't know if it's something to see. I don't know what that means or anything, but I don't respond to these as faces, no. But I don't see that well, so that's, you've got that.
Got that, okay. So this is really interesting for me because this is a piece of black paper. And it was a blank piece of black paper. And what I did was I made a revert of it. So it's the opposite. But you can see it, the full image is on the left and the detail is on the right. But on this image, where I did no drawing, suddenly there's something drawn on it. It's a kind of a little mini miracle here. And so there's these two entwined circles. And what does it mean? So I thought about what it means, didn't come up with anything. And then finally, I was told about quantum entanglement. So I think I'll just tell people, I mean, quantum entanglement is complicated, but it's in its own way, it's sort of simple. So it's really about the interaction of two particles. And Einstein used to call it spooky action at a distance, because he didn't really understand the way that it worked. He just knew that it was out there. But now we know much more about quantum entanglement. And in fact, it was photographed in 2019. So the image of actual quantum entanglement of two electrons, or, you know, two, whatever they are, particles that are entwined together.
Are they clouds?
Are they clouds?
Yes.
No, they're tiny, tiny little much, much smaller than electrons or neutrons or whatever.
Okay.
They're teeny little particles. And then on the right side, what I did was I drew the two circles so that you could see the symbol for quantum entanglement in science is the vesica piscis, which happens to be the same symbol for Mary, which is the vesica Pisces. So Mary, I never knew why it was Mary who, you know, when I first discovered her moving around in my bedroom she was a tiny little glow in the dark image of Mary. And I never really understood.
No wonder you moved her to the bathroom.
It was amazing. When I first saw her, it was just remarkable. She moved so much that I was like, well, I wonder if she's going to fall off. And what do I do if she falls off the table? But anyway, and then, you know, I found that she could keep time to the music. Well, there was really no other explanation other than, you know, physics. And it turns out that she's the same symbol as quantum entanglement. So more and more I've been led through this journey through you know, quantum theory.
Are you finding, I told you a question I was going to ask you today, which is about a mission, if you have some sort of mission in your life. And I wonder if you would answer that.
I really think it's to show people how to see macronistically, and meaning, you know, what they can see with their eyes, with their naked eye, but also an enhanced version of what they can see. It's a combination of visual acuity plus physics, I think.
Well,
So-
I do know that one thing that's going on in this search is that you're looking for some relief, some release for your own health issues. And this, I'm under the impression, is giving you, taking you down a path that you think will, in fact, service that, right?
Yes, and I mean, I think better health is something that we're all focused on right now. And I do think that in the future, I mean, I really hope that there's a way for humanity to be healthier. But then I also hope that there's a way for the planet to be healthier as well, along with that.
So do you want to answer the consciousness question now?
No, I want to wait.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, no, let's get through the rest of this, and then we can spend some time on questions, I think.
Okay.
This is, I was asked to do 3 paintings that represent quantum entanglement, and not really knowing why, but again, using this premise that the universe is all seeing. And so what I used was these tiny little eyes, and this is a 36 by 48 painting. So 3 of them took me about 9 months. This is a detail. So you can see that it's 2 by 2 by 2. And so it's all eyes, literally all eyes, and they're all entangled. And I didn't really understand, especially when I did the first one, why I was doing this. But certainly by the second and third, I will show you. So this is the third painting. And at this point I was like, this was so entangled to me that I thought, I really hoped that I would never do anything like this again, because, you know, this was really, really wacky. But then when I finished, I found that that in recording the image on video, it was pulsing. And so this is an example of these pulsing paintings. And so it's like this sort of mimics the way that physics works. There's an ebb and a flow and a dark and a light. That's the wave of particle physics. And it feels to me like these paintings are a way of seeing that. And so this is, the paintings I feel like are a way to build an interactive installation. Because when I focus my iPhone through FaceTime, and have someone else on the other end, they can actually see the sort of constant pulsing that it makes. And that's amazing to me, really, truly amazing to me. So that said, I thought, well, let's see if a professional video guy with a big camera, a really great video camera, could record something. And what I got, I feel, is truly remarkable. And so this is a recording in the dark of the painting. We're not talking about a recording of Mary. We're talking about a recording of simply the energy. But the energy wasn't, I mean, in the total darkness, this is what was recorded. And so what we've got here are these entangled particles, the entangled quanta, and so this is really quite remarkable in that I'm wondering what exactly, according to science, I'm recording. I see these energies in the air. I see that this, for instance, has this emergent behavior in it. But but how does that manifest exactly? And what exactly is this? Let me see if I can. Oops, wait a second. Yeah. So I find this to be truly remarkable. I don't know what you think of it, Bill, but for me, it's really a breakthrough, and I've shown it to one physicist. I haven't really shown it to anyone else, but I do think that there's an explanation, and my explanation is that these are the particles that are around everyone, and after 25 years of not really being able to photograph these things the way that I have wanted to, that somehow now there's an honoring of what these things are, and it's real, and there's evidence. And so my whole oeuvre this past 25 years has been for me about proof, about documentation of the physics around me. And I think also what's really interesting as well for me is that a couple of months ago, physicists came out and they said, okay, we found these muons, and there's a couple of papers about the muons. And what they've said is the muons seem to be hiding some other form of energy, which they don't know. They don't know what that is yet. And so we still have 85 to 90% of the universe still missing in the form of dark energy, dark matter. And science and physics has not been able to find it, which is a lot of particles. There's a lot out there that they don't know. They don't know where it is. And I've been saying for over 20 years that it's missing and that it's hiding and that it's invisible to us and it's invisible to science. So what I'm thinking now is happening is that these things that are invisible are beginning to be more visible.
Do you have any idea where the word muon comes from?
No, I know that the physicists are using it to describe the particles that they are seeing that have the ones that are hidden behind it. But that's all I know. Yeah, let me see what else. And this is the image that's just captivated me since those videos were shot, because it was taken. It's actually a flash of light, and these flashes of light I've seen before. I've seen them physically, and I've seen them, I've seen them physically, but I've also, not seen them, but they've been recorded. And so this one, I've never seen anything like this one, and I'm hoping that this is kind of the shape of things to come. And then this is another form of quantum entanglement that was on one of the other videos that I think is also about these two entangled particles. And this is one of my favorites from one of the other videos. And then this is, I just wanted to end with, this is a new image, and again, I've gone back to photographing things like tables. But in photographing the table, what I'm getting as well is, I'm not getting the table itself. What I'm getting is the energy, the emergent behavior pattern, and the faces that I still see over this image.
There was a question earlier about the technical settings that you employ to make these images. You want to talk about that?
Which ones?
I think all of them. How are you setting these up? How do you do the capture? Like, for instance, the table.
iPhone 11, and every phone that I've had has brought a different form of just physically in the way the image looks. And so this iPhone is from the beginning of the year, and so now it I don't know, each phone has a different look to it.
And how are you putting it on a tripod or anything stationary, or
no,
or what?
no, not usually. No. Yeah.
All right.
And these are examples of emergent behavior that I also see as the cosmic web. The cosmic web is something that's also been proven by scientists. That there is this web that's around the Earth that I can see really plainly in the daylight, and it's a sort of a grayish silver grid. The ones that I see in here are more gold, and the ones that I see in the darkness are also more silver. But these are examples of emergent behavior that I also see. It's the same structure as the cosmic web. So from left to right, there's this is space taken from Mars, and the night sky taken from Earth, and the energy around me, which is the same as the energy around everyone, and just a reminder that there's as much light around us as there is out there in the night sky.
Will you repeat something from earlier about the percentage of dark matter?
85 to 90% of the universe is missing, according to physics.
And unexplored, unseen, unknown.
And the billions and billions of dollars that have been spent on CERN and the other lab, in the Fermi lab in Chicago, outside of Chicago, the billions that we have spent have not answered really any questions about where they are and what they are.
Okay, now you can deal with consciousness and the electrons.
Yes, okay. What was the question exactly?
The question exactly is, if electrons are conscious, what does this mean for our consciousness and therefore perception?
I can tell you what it is for me.
That would be a good place to start.
And you don't have to align with my point of view, but I think that when we begin to see and understand that what's around us is conscious, we will be far more aware that we're not actually alone and that we each have a kind of guidance that's with us. That's what I would say.
I like that.
Okay.
Maybe there are two more.
Let me, I was going to thank people.
Um,
And then there's this, there is I did write about this for Truth in Photography, which is what you were reading from. And
Yeah.
that article comes out on the 24th of the month. And Truth in Photography is this new website that's, their collaborators are Magnum and ICP, and who am I missing? Aperture. So it's a great site for photographers.
Yeah. Who's shepherding it?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are two questions. I don't get the first one. What did the physicist you spoke to say about this? I guess about consciousness.
Okay, let me get out of this and then I can see people.
Okay.
Or at least I can see you. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you see the chat box?
Okay. Am I looking at the chat box or am I looking at the chat questions?
Well, let's just look at the questions and answer them.
Okay. Okay, did you ask me a question that I didn't answer, Bill? Sorry.
Nope, you're all up to speed with me.
What did the physicist you spoke to say about this? He thinks it's absolutely remarkable, and he thinks it's nothing less than absolutely remarkable, is what I would say. But I need to run it by more physicists. Wait a second, there's another question. Your approach is reminiscent of Hilma af Klint's. Do you feel close to her sensibility? I do. I do. And when I went to see her show, it was extraordinary. And I had this experience of taking a little bit of video of one of her paintings. And when I did, I got the same pulsing that's coming up on the paintings of quantum entanglement. So yes, I think there's an affinity. I don't know, there seems to be, you know, through time, there's certainly been women who have been graced, graced question mark, with this kind of information. But I think that what I'm getting, you know, I left spirituality, and I left it for a reason. I left it because things like ghosts and angels were not something that I could really relate to, and I wanted real answers. So it was kind of like the farther down the rabbit hole I went, the more confusing it got for me. So when I finally began to hear, go back to science, it was a reference to my childhood and my mom. And so I think for me, that's where the strength of all this is. I feel like there's real answers, and there's real answers for everyone. And I'm not sure that in the end, they're going to have much to do with what we call now religion.
Or what?
What we call now religion.
Okay. What we now call religion.
Yeah.
Are there any other artists or scientists whose practice you look at, thinking for a level of recognition, affirmation, that this is the same pursuit? Or do you feel alone?
No, I do. I feel pretty much alone in what I'm doing, I have to say. There's a
Yeah.
lot of other artists whose work I respect, but you know, I sort of feel like I've been alone out there.
Nancy, thank you for sharing. I think that that's a very good place to end this. It's a little early, but
there's
there's another
another,
question that I'm not going to answer. But
yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you.
people can communicate with you. You're very accessible. So if they want to send you an email, they might do that. And
Yeah,
say
I was
thank
just,
you.
there
your
was a
time and
couple of other
energy.
things. Actually, Bill, there was a couple of other things that I was going to add. And one of them is that I used to teach people how to see aura, and actually because I haven't been with students in classrooms, I haven't really done it lately. But I can tell people how to see aura, which I think is interesting, an interesting experiment for people. And so, what do you think? Could I do that now? Is that all right with you?
No, not enough time.
Not enough time?
I want people to be hungry for more and other. Got anything else you want to say?
Just basically thank you, and you know, and it's been fun, and I so appreciate you.
Yeah, fun for me too. Thank you to Photo London for giving us this platform, because I don't think
For sure.
you get platforms often enough to relay what you're up to. I will tell people in the audience that this is fairly, that people, my experience is that I bring in a great deal of a resistance to listening to it, to hearing it. And I think the more of that skepticism you check at the door, the more responsive you'll be to this material and to Nancy's investigation. Love you, honey.
Love you too.
Thank
babe.
you all.
And thank
Everybody
you
stay safe. What?
for
Thank you, Michael, Fariba, Solange, everybody involved.
Bill Ewing.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.